Hey folks, this is Vint with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and once again we're going to play Shadows of Doubt. It's important to stress that this is an early access title, so everything that you're about to see is subject to change. So, in my last video, I showed off an entire case regarding infidelity. During the end of that case, I received a new murder case, and that is what we're going to be featuring today. I will be narrating badly, so there you go. Just having finished the infidelity case, I make my way up to 201 Gomez. I see a cop out in the hall, and I see the room taped off. I sneak by into the house, being careful, knowing that if the cop sees me trespassing, I could get arrested. As one does, you steal things from the dead. So at this point, I have no idea who has died, who the killer is, or anything. But I'm going around exploring. I find a business card with a name on it. Seo Jun Cheng. That's going to be fun to pronounce throughout this entire video. Eventually, I found a corpse on the floor with some writing on the wall, but it's very difficult to make out. The body is all over the place, very gruesome. I attempt to take their fingerprint, gather some more information. It's coming up as unknown citizen. Now it's possible that this Seo Jung Cheng, again I'm going to butcher that, may live alone or may live with somebody else. I don't know yet. We discovered that there's an entry wound, a .309 or deer slug caliber bullet. So we're looking for a murder weapon that might be a rifle. From examining the body, it appears that the victim has been shot to death with a rifle. We also get the time of death, estimate of course. Good to know. In case we decide to try and find video cameras that try to point to that time period, and we can look out in the hall and see who might have entered the apartment at that time. Cop hears noises, decides to come in. Lucky for me, he's dense. And doesn't seem to care too much. I continue exploring the apartment, find a work rotation, find a work ID that does confirm that the corpse is Seo Jung Chong. Sure. We still don't know if there's another person in the apartment that is also living with them. We also have their place of work, so we can always investigate that later. We also have a note that pertains to his secret code. As mentioned in the last video, codes are universal for that person. So whether it's a safe or a computer, that 4-digit code will work for both. So if you have the code for one, you have the code for the other. And my passive income comes into play. As a reminder, I've got 3 or 4 sync disks at this point. One automatically generates income, which is awesome. I find a crumbled paper on the floor. Let's play ORMOKO. Possibly written by the killer, taunting us. We earn a little bit of money for reading the book. Again, another sync disk bonus that we get. Every new unique book that we read, we get some money. I lazily scroll through the address book, trying to see if that Ormako word pops out. Possibly scrambled letters, if it would form a name of some kind. It's hard to tell at this point if all the blood on the floor is just scattered, or if it's actually part of some kind of sick design, like the killer went mad. At this point, we pull out our fingerprint scanner, and for several, what seems like hours, I scour the house looking for fingerprints. I find some large caliber bullet holes. There's a gun on the counter, but it belongs, everything, all the fingerprints belong to the victim. Now, in logging into the computer, we only see one name, meaning he lives alone. Makes our job a little bit easier. Pull up his emails, looking for any sort of death threat or warning, anything. The only thing I could find was 1 or 2 emails from someone named Emma Smith, someone that he probably works with. And she seems quite grumpy or angry with him. So I'm thinking maybe she might be a suspect. Something to think about. All the other emails seem to be in order. Unfortunately, me printing that paper got loud. So in a mad dash, I attempt to crawl under the bed, but I guess I'm too fat. There we go. I stay there for a little bit. And it looks like the cop leaves. Alright, and I continue my search. I find his personal files. One, a doctor's prescription that doesn't really seem to mean much of anything. Beta blockers, depression. Employee contract, Crimson Corporation. So now we have a place of business, although we probably got that from his business card anyway. Also a certificate of birth, which probably not that important since we already have his code. We find some heels under the bed, size 14. I scour my evidence board. The narrator attempts to stall for time. There we go. I pull out my fingerprint scanner because there are footprints all over the floor. His fingerprint is type E. What may or may not be pictured here, I discover that the footprints on the ground are not of the same size as the victim. So we're looking for a different sized shoe. I believe it was size 5, but don't quote me on it. I don't think it made the cut in this video. So at the moment, we are heading to a different place, going up the stairs. And we are attempting to find the security offices for the building so that we can possibly see who entered and exited the room at the time of death, or near the time of death. Unfortunately, there appears to be some kind of person inside manning the security. Every building it comes to see that there's a room that controls all of the security systems for the building. By accessing that, you can access the surveillance. Since I couldn't find a fingerprint on the scene of the crime, I figured maybe some video evidence might do the trick. Unfortunately, getting this guy to leave, Amani Gray, would prove a little challenging. And I guess we just stare at him for a while. And wouldn't you know it, he just gets up and leaves. What dumb luck. I may or may not have waited 5-10 minutes. But we're sure he's gone. We close the door, and we scour the apartment quickly. We find blueprints on the desk. We find some money which we accidentally took. Quote-unquote, accidentally. At this point, we're looking for a 4-digit code that will allow us access to the computer so that we can access the surveillance tapes. We find a lockpick. We may or may not find some more money that accidentally finds its way into our pockets. And unfortunately, it's not looking good for this 4-digit code. Find another paperclip. Find a hairpin. Well, it might be starch candy. Still no sign of him coming back, which is good news for us. We turn on the computer, hoping that there's no password, but we know better. Yep. Unfortunately, we are SOL. So we look up the name, and I think to myself, knowing about this world that we live in, it's very possible that his password is not in this room, but might be contained in his personal residence. Like I said, PIN numbers in this game are universal. So work computers and home computers use the same email. The safes use the same email. It seems like each person in this world has assigned one PIN number to them, and it accesses everything. So I'm thinking, okay, so maybe it's not in this office. Maybe if we can possibly find his place of residence and look for information there, we might be able to come back. But the problem is, how long will this office really remain empty? By the time I get there, look around his apartment and come back, it's very possible that this room will fill up again, and, well, so it goes. All that breaking and entering has gotten me hungry and thirsty, so I decided to head back to my apartment. Eat the starch candy that I stole from the security office. Realized that I had just thrown the candy wrapper on the floor instead of the hallway, because that's apparently where the trash goes. And of course, good old synth milk. But instead of drinking it, I decided to throw it at the wall, because that's what one does. But then I drink it. Maybe it's that carbonated milk. Needs to be shaken up first. Become nauseous for a split second. And now I realize I'm smelly. I go in fully clothed, as one does. Boom. Insta-clean. I realized that the collectible sports card I had stolen from before was just weighing my pockets down. So I put it in my apartment to sell later. Fall on the floor because I'm wet. And then I look up the person that was in the security office earlier, in the hopes that I can get his password and then come back to the security office to access those surveillance video records. So here I am at his apartment. Performing what may be illegal acts. Playing chicken with the camera. Nothing to see here. And we are in. Now keep in mind this person has done nothing wrong, but I really want his PIN number so I can access those video surveillance records. But what I find is a small, sorry excuse for an efficiency apartment. Not even a refrigerator. 2 packs of birth control pills for his manliness somehow. 2 books, instantly earning me 12 credits, 6 apiece. Find his pin, 3362. We pinned that in the hopes that no one is back at the security office right now, because we could totally use that. We find some handcuffs. Not going to ask. Possibly some money, but I'm not going to mention how it got into my pocket. What's interesting is that his bathroom is the biggest room in the entire apartment. No refrigerator, but at least he's got a huge bathroom. I may or may not have taken some tinned food. Apparently I didn't like the flavor. We come back to the surveillance office to find, unfortunately, Amani Gray is now back in his security office. I considered barging at the door with him on the other side, knocking him out temporarily, only to see that there is a second person in the office. Looks like to be some kind of police officer, cop. So there goes that. My chances of using video evidence is pretty much gone at this point. Alright, well, I decide I need to eat and drink again, so I grab a starch cola and a hot dog from my local shop. Realizing just how much of a dump this place is. Unable to find a trash can, I go to the bathroom and throw my hot dog at what looks like to be a homeless person. I drink the rest of my cola. Realize it was wrong of me to throw it at the homeless person, so I go into the bathroom where no one can see me and throw my trash there. I realize that this hot dog should also probably be with its friend. I feel like this person is judging me. So I decide to go to the victim's place of work. Crimson Corporation. The door is locked. It is nighttime, so no one is in the office right now. I can either break in through the front door or find an alternate way in. And it just so happens there is a vent in the bathroom that could possibly take me there. It's apparently a very shiny vent. We drop down into a room. And there we are. We mess with the breaker box. There's a security door breaker that we turn off. All of the cameras, all the security systems are now off. Now it is a mad dash to find, I believe it was Emma Smith. There she is. Now this is more of a shot in the dark than anything. All we have to go on is her mean emails to the victim. It's possible that she's not the killer, but we have no other leads at this point in time, aside from that crumbled note with that jumbled word on it. And I go through her emails and unfortunately can't find much of anything. Lots of harsh words going back and forth between coworkers, but that's about it. Not enough to kill somebody over. We look for evidence in various drawers. Nothing. We find her passcode, counting back from 9. So her password is 9876. Not that it's going to do us much good unless we somehow find her safe, break into that. Emmett Smith's locker, 9876. All we find are pills. Lots and lots and lots of pills. Nothing. Unfortunately, this is the only lead we have, as crappy as it is. I reset the breaker back down. As mentioned earlier, those breaker boxes will slowly reset. So at this point, the only thing we can do is get a list of suspects and start checking them off one by one. I start going through all of the employees at this workplace. Mary Peters is one of them. At the scene of the crime, we saw a size shoe of 5, I believe it was. Again, that was more off camera. And it was a heel, which means that more than likely I'm looking for some kind of female. So I go through the records trying to find what looks like to be females. And I would probably just have to investigate each one by one. Very tedious, but maybe I'll get lucky. There's Emma Smith. We have access to all of their fingerprints, but unfortunately, the killer did not leave fingerprints at the scene. At least none that I could find. We find the victim. And unfortunately, there's not much else to look for. So I leave through the vent from whence I came. So I attempt to follow up on the lead of the mean Emma. In her emails, she was kind of rude to him. So I decide to look her up. Maybe I can get lucky, and if she'll let me in, maybe she'll let me see what shoe size she is. It's a shot in the dark at this point. It's either that or overpower the janitor and the guard in the surveillance room and just handcuff them both and then look through the computer. But that might be considered a little illegal. Just a little bit. We arrive at Emma Smith's residence. 802 Gomez House. A lot of people seem to live in this building. I knock aggressively. And a very short person in underwear answers the door. She doesn't seem to care for the idea of me coming into her house to look at her shoes. I wonder why. She claims to have seen the victim at 201 Gomez. They were in a hurry to get somewhere. And what looks like the woman's son, who appears to be taller. The boy looks like he's like 7 or 8 years old, but is clearly larger than the woman. Well, that's that. I mean, I could break and enter, but yeah. I eventually go back to the crumbled paper, and then I go through all of the employee records I had saved up to that point. And it just so happens, when I click the change text on the crumbled paper from cursive to print, there's a dash, then a dot, then 5 dashes. So a first initial, and then 5 letters in the last name, which just so happens to match up to somebody that we have records for. So the killer actually left their name on the crumbled paper, albeit jumbled. In this case, It was M. Ocaro at 904 Gomez House. We look them up. And we head on out. If not for that crumbled paper, I doubt we would have found the killer, but hey, you never know. A lot of killers in my apartment building. Maybe I should move. I knock on the door. Somebody is coming to answer the door. The door opens. And what looks to be Waldo's cousin. Very unhelpful, this person. Get out of here. Hasn't seen anything. Do you know this person? I work with them. That's Seo Jung Chong. Always going on about ballet dancing. I saw them at 201 Gomez House on Tuesday around 7:15 p.m. Looked like they were in a rush. That sort of corroborates what the other woman was saying, Emma Smith. I wonder if he was on his way home from work. Who knows? I attempt to bribe them. Let me in. They don't seem to go for it. The way I see it, I can just rob them and get that money back, but yeah. So it goes. Alright, so I'm going to have to break in, unfortunately. I attempt to charge through the door. Unable to get my button clicks and button presses to be exact. That eventually pisses off the tenant. And they chase me with their fists. So as not to draw attention to the rest of the building, I go into his house. I can punch him out in here and no one would know. Dance around the chair. I played a lot of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, so I have the upper hand, I think. And I knock him out. We do a quick search. A box of rifle rounds. Very suspicious. Considering that the wound was a rifle bullet. We handcuff them just in case they wake up. The handcuffs do not last forever. They get out of them, but it'll slow them down for quite a while. So now comes the mad dash to find the murder weapon and any incriminating evidence. We find the password. Only one person lives here, which is convenient. No one's going to come home and see him handcuffed. And for whatever reason, I want to fingerprint the screen. There we go. Going through the email, I don't see a whole lot of incriminating evidence. Now, as a reminder, according to our investigation of the corpse, we're looking for some kind of rifle. 308 ammunition. We find the safe. Hey, look! A sync disk. Upgrade vial. Now, these upgrade vials are different. They allow us to upgrade a skill that we already have, not give us a new one. We can make something more powerful. We find the purse, some money and a key. Still no sign of the murder weapon. At this point, I probably should have looked for the shoes as well, but I wasn't thinking. Going through trash cans. Sometimes you do find incriminating evidence in trash cans. Oops. Accidentally stole more money. The victim should still be pacified for a bit. They will break out eventually. And then I see something under the desk. I throw the chair out of the way. I see a hunting rifle of some kind. And then I realize I have to throw it on the floor and then identify it before I pick it up. Inspect. Pin it. And now we can read more about it. The entry wound on the corpse was caused by a .309 ammunition, and this Hamilton rifle happens to use .309 ammunition, a popular sniper weapon. Kind of weird to use inside an apartment building at point-blank range, but so it goes. So we decide to take the rifle. We can always possibly sell it later, assuming it's not confiscated. And off we go. We arrive at the town hall building. And now it's time to fill in the form. Marjani Okaro. Crumpled paper as evidence that they were there at the scene of the crime. We know the killer lives at 904 Gomez. We have the Hamilton rifle. We did arrest them, but that should kick in during the results step. All right, so now we hand in the case and see what happens. Boom, 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 and boom. Case solved. And that is how it's done. We got lucky. I got lucky. Earned some money in the process. Social credit has leveled up. And there you go, folks. Another quick look at Shadows of Doubt. I really enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun. A little buggy, but still a lot of fun. If you guys want to see more cases like this, let me know. I'll be happy to do more. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Take care.